Hello, beautiful Earth Angels. My name is Joanna the Healer. Thank you so much. For those of you who are coming back, thank you so much for coming back. I love you all. And for those of you who are new, welcome. I hope you stay. I hope you like what you hear. My intention is, actually, I'm going to state the intention that I was encouraged to state earlier in my meditation, and that is ultimately what I received when I asked the question, what am I here for, during my plant medicine ceremony. And in very few words, the plant medicine turned to me, so to speak, and said, your reason for being here is very simple. Your reason for being here is to help facilitate remembering. And when she said facilitate remembering, I knew what the remembering meant. The remembering meant to remember who we really are beyond the physical manifestation. And I'm stating this right now because for some reason it's really important. I'm not quite sure why it's important yet, but it is important enough that it's being impressed upon me to say it. Perhaps it's to help some of you to realize or come closer to knowing or understanding what your intention is for being here, what your purpose is for being here in this bodysuit, in this thing called life. And everyone will have a different purpose, so to speak, but at the end of the day, every single being who is here, every single human is here to be themselves. And if our self is love, then what we are here for is essentially to love. And how we show up, how we go about it, how we choose to express it or hold back, that ultimately is up to you. So my intention for you, and I've said all of this for a reason, someone needs to hear this. So my intention is to help you, is to facilitate remembering, is to help you remember who you are. And that is that you are a perfect being that is made of light, except even saying made of really makes no sense. It just makes no sense. You simply are. So because this is for earth signs, and it's not going to only apply to earth signs, but it's predominantly for Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorns, I have to tell you that the energy I feel for the next, I want to say a couple of months, but part of me wants to say 2 to 3 months. So it sounds like this will take April, May. This will take anywhere between April and June, end of June, where whatever information comes through, you might expect that happening over a period of time. This is a new format. I hope you guys like it. At the end of this general message, I will give a specific message to each sign: Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Okay, let's get moving. The word for you, us, because I'm a earth sign, for the next 2 to 3 months is responsibility. And I'm observing the word responsibility, and I'm looking at what it means to me. So for each and every person, the word responsibility will mean different things in your particular life. But in the context of these messages, the word responsibility comes with responsibility for you. In other words, who are you? Why are you here? And what is it ultimately that you are responsible for? When you take away all the things that we are attached to, our spouses, our kids, our jobs, our hobbies, our friends, when we're ultimately take that away from us, why are we here? And the answer is quite simply, we are here for ourselves. So if we are here for ourselves, then it makes sense to take care of ourselves. And this is a really interesting time, unlike any other, where taking care of our own responsibility becomes a little bit easier. And it's not because it wasn't easy before, but because circumstances have forced us, most of us, to a space in our own lives when we begin to reassess certain things that we have been doing up until now. And I'm going to spoil the surprise a little bit. At the end of my meditation for Earth signs, I heard clear as day, Ace of Pentacles. So I know what that means, opportunities. And the card that popped up was the Fool. So at the end of whatever message this will be, there is something brand new, some sort of a new beginning, some sort of something that is forming as a result of what is going on right now, whatever is happening in your life right now. And the word responsibility has a lot to do with it. And if I was to interpret it in human words, I would say that basically what's being said is that many of us, and I would say majority of us, are standing at a cusp of new experiences and new opportunities, hence the Fool and hence the Ace of Pentacles. So for a lot of you, this is going to be job related. For most of you, in addition to being job related, it has a lot to do with owning and recognizing and owning your own value, which if you look outside the window, you'll realize that what's happening in the world right now is we are all reassessing what and how much value we put on things, including human life. So, because we are all in transitions here, it is no time like the present to take a bite of the apple, an apple being knowledge, in order to understand certain aspects of ourselves to help us move forward in this new and, for most part, exciting ways. As I was watching the energy, I actually saw, an earth sign taking a bite of an apple. So spirit talks to me in various ways, symbolically, words, metaphors, feelings, colors, numbers. So I have my own vocabulary, and depending who I am connecting to at the time, the energy will come to me in different forms, in different ways. So when I saw us taking a bite of the apple, we are taking a bite of knowledge. And whatever it is that we are experiencing now in our reality is a very teachable moment indeed. And what I saw us doing is we were chewing on something that we are learning. So when I say chewing, there's a metaphor. If you're chewing or something, you are thinking of something, you are contemplating on something, you are looking at it, you are assessing it. And it seems to be that majority of earth signs are assessing or chewing on certain things that we are learning right now. And all I have to do is just kind of check myself into the 3D world and going, yeah, most people have been affected by what's going on right now. So we are learning from this many things. We are learning we are learning that we actually are capable of doing so much more than we thought, because we are now forced to do it, so we had no time to think about it. Or we are beginning to capitalize on the opportunities that are being presented to us in terms of being, for example, able to have time off where we can put our efforts and our focus into something that we have been neglecting and or wanting to try. And many of us will use this mandatory taking care of ourselves as a way to begin something new and something different. And for many people, this will quite simply mean walking away from a job that is no longer serving, or a job is being eliminated, and as a result of that, giving you the gentle nudge or gentle push to do something you've always wanted to done, but for example, you were too afraid. So that to me is fantastic. However, I feel there is slight pressure on my chest, and it's a little bit like I don't know what this means for me. It's a feeling of I don't know what to expect, or not knowing what to expect. So fear is often present when we are faced with new things that we know nothing about or where they're going. That's normal. However, we are moving through our fears as best as we can, and we are actually learning that when we are faced with something head on, we basically have no other option but to face it. So many of us are facing our own fears, things that we have chosen to put aside in order not to, get too close to it for whatever reason, because it's uncomfortable. And now situations are presenting themselves in such a way that these are being faced, or we are faced with them. And as a result of that, we move through them and we move past them. For some of you, what's coming up, what you're moving past through is first and second chakra related stuff, which is quite simply survivability. Now, again, we are in times where that is a top priority of probably most humans in the world. So that makes perfect sense. And of course, that will affect our ability to trust and our ability to create. These first and second chakra are predominantly about survivability. So what's happening right now is a lot of first and second chakra stuff is coming up to the surface. So if you have been holding on to guilt, for example, or if you have been holding on to shame, or if you have been holding on to any feelings that are associated with first and second chakra that are weighing you down, chances are over the next 2 to 3 months, you will walk through these fears, and the vision I have is like walking through fire. So I don't know about you, but if I was to walk through fire, I would probably not feel very comfortable. But at the end of the day, I would know that I just have to walk through the fire, and at least there's a hose over there. So if I happen to catch fire, I will be well taken care of. And obviously that's a metaphor that says walking through fire is not comfortable, but when that's the only thing you are faced with, well, I guess you could turn around, but if you're turning around, you're going back to where you started, which is you're back to square one, and nobody wants to go back to square one. If you're in this uncomfortable space, you might as well deal with it. So for some of you, things around intimacy will come up. Fears around intimacy, vulnerabilities around intimacy, feeling, not allowing yourself to be vulnerable or to feel vulnerable in intimate situations, or choosing to shy away from certain situations, intimate situations, because you don't want to be vulnerable. And all of that is rooted in rejection. So if there are any of you, and I know there are many of you that have challenges related to fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of being not good enough, standard human stuff, these things will come up to the surface more so than any other time. And what I'm actually being asked to say is that I've been doing a lot of healings lately. Like I literally shifted my focus into healing because I was told that's what people need. And what I'm realizing is that what my healings do, they literally, it's like a Drano. When the pipes are clogged, I come in, I pour the Drano, and when the Drano pushes out the gunk, at first, it's not pretty. So what's happening is you may feel energetically drained. You may feel chaotic, you may feel lost, and all of that may feel amplified, but rest assured that what's happening right now, it's like Drano is going through your pipes, so to speak, and your pipes are being cleared. Why? Well, for one, if it's clogged, you're not as in the flow. And when we are not as in the flow, guess what? We are resisting. And please understand that pain is in the resistance. And the more we resist, the more pain we experience. So essentially what's happening right now is we are faced with things in our past that will ultimately allow us to be more in our own flow. And who doesn't want that? Which means if you have been in a career that you have outgrown, if you have been in a job that doesn't serve you, if you have been in a relationship that is not working, all these things that have not been in balance for quite some time, these are the things that will more likely than not break. Look at it from this perspective. If something is out of balance for a long period of time, this imbalance creates weakness, right? And whenever we have a storm coming in and it hits the weak point, what happens? It breaks. Anything that has been standing cockeyed in your life, meaning anything that has been out of balance for too long, is likely to break or break away. And that's a good thing. And the reason for that is that breaking out the old will create opportunities for bringing in something new. And hence the Ace of Pentacles and the Fool. So even though it might be a little bit stormy once in a while, all of this is, I feel this excitement. There is a lot of excitement. What else did I want to see here? Yes. So for the next, let's say, April, May-ish, most of us are hanging on to something we have always hung on to for dear life. However, whatever that is, many of us are letting that go. And what I wrote here, this is really important, because what I wrote is, many of you are taking chances on something new, and it's about being at the right time and at the right place. So there will be, and there are, opportunities that are being created right now in the background. We may not have the privy of understanding what those are, or when they're going to happen, or what they're going to look like. At the end of the day, we are moving past, let's call this an energetic storm. What does a storm do? Storm creates chaos. What happens during chaos? Things that are not solid will get blown apart. Once the storm passes, things that were solid remain. Things that were not solid are swept away. So what ends up happening is, after the storm passes, we, a lot of the time, have a lot more clarity. And I feel this is what will take place over the next several months. So we are not different. This chaos, if you will, eventually ends up creating a lot of clarity with regards to opportunities. So I feel really, really, really good about this, but at the same time, there is a bit of apprehension. I am an Earth sign. For those of you who don't know it, I'm a Taurus sign, and the moment this whole thing started with the virus, I literally, within 2 days, I was shown that this is going to help me shift onto my next track, whatever the track is. And I already know, because it's happening. It's just being out there in a different way. A lot of it is to do with offering a lot more healing, and as I offer a lot more healing, I grow in my healing abilities, so it becomes much more that way oriented. But it makes sense, because I have now changed to call myself Joanna the Healer instead of Joanna the Medium. So I know that this is affording me, meaning it's dependable, an opportunity to shift my work in a slightly different way. At the core of my work is still to facilitate remembering, which is helping you remember who you are, which is you're not your body, you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotion, you're not your ego. Those are aspects of you, but you are more than that. I will just happen to do it in a different way. So for many of you, this will help and shift you onto your new track. And you know what? If you have wanted to be a healer, now let me just rephrase. If you have wanted to be a healer, so that's problem number one, because you need to observe that you are a healer already. You are born with it. You're like Siri. You're like iPhone with Siri. You come equipped with it. Doesn't mean you get to use it. Doesn't mean you believe it. But you are a being made up of energy. And as such, you have the ability to heal. So if you wanted to extend yourself, extend your expression, or express yourself as a healer, this time, right now, there is no better opportunity than to allow yourself to do that. And all you have to do is trust in your ability, number one. So that will take some people out of their comfort zone. That's okay. The more you practice, the better. And so this will kick some people into their path of being a healer. And that's where the word responsibility comes in as well. So what I want to say is, if you are beginning to think that maybe expressing my abilities as a healer is something that I could do right now, by all means, try it, own it, go out there, do what you want to do, but always make sure. And this is something I have to practice. I can't just preach if I don't practice. Therefore, it makes no sense. Always remember that ultimately, responsibility always comes back to you. And I feel like I need to say it for one important reason, and that is that we, as humans, put a lot of value on what we do. We value ourselves, we gain value from what we do. Not everybody, but from what I've experienced, most people. So the problem is that if we're being healers, and us being healers gives us value, but we don't own our value aside from being a healer, then we come into a situation where the scale is not balanced and it's going to get skewed again. So always remember this. The responsibility you have is first and foremost to you. Always. Always. If you feel like you are responsible to heal other people, if that's your responsibility, you will be sadly disappointed. Why? One example that comes up is that, believe it or not, some people don't want to be healed. And it may sound preposterous to the logical mind, but I'm going to give you an example. For example, someone who gets attention from not being well may not to let go of not being well, because that is how they get attention. So not everybody wants to be healed. It takes courage to be healed. And I'm not talking about going to the doctor and asking for a pill. No, I'm talking about the internal imbalance. That takes courage, because it means we have to look within. So responsibility is always to you. And then you can share your knowledge and help other people be responsible for their own health. So it's a long blurb on healing. I don't know why. Chances are quite a few of you are going to resonate with this. Okay, what is it that I want to do? I even want to show any cards. Sure, why not? The card that represents us is actually quite interesting, because look at this. This is a person who is, sitting in contemplation, which is what I saw. And he or she is sitting on roots. So there are several things I received when I saw the card. First and foremost, most of us are being uprooted from the way things used to be. Okay? At the same time, it is giving us an opportunity to rethink, reevaluate, and refocus to create new roots. So again, this is a perfect opportunity for starting something new, for starting something different. The majority of the cards that I have are these cards for the earth sign. I was guided that way. Notice also orange, which is the second chakra, which is predominantly what I felt was first and second chakra. It has everything to do with trust in community, trusting in yourself, trusting in your ability to support yourself, trusting that life will support you. So you are healing a lot of that. Another card with a lot of orange is this. So notice there's orange, blue, and yellow. Notice what this card speaks to you. To me, it symbolizes that something is being birthed or something is being born. It isn't born yet, hence why Ace of Pentacles, or and the Fool. But the energy, the frequency is absolutely one of creation. Think of it as a gestation period. A female that when she conceives, there is a gestation period before the conception and before the baby is born. Okay, so we are in that process. So no, it's not happening right now, but it's happening very shortly. And I want to say May is what comes up. Okay, for those of you who are wanting to express themselves more as a healer, whether you earn from it or not, it's irrelevant to this conversation. Trust your abilities to know how to heal. I'm not talking about going to practice on people as a doctor without having a doctor education. I'm not talking about that. But if you're talking about intuitive healing, energy healing, whatever other esoteric ways of healing, trust in your abilities to know how to heal. Remember, you as a healer are a facilitator, because the person heals themselves. You facilitate, you help, help is the word that I want to get. Okay, there's obviously a lot of green surrounding this, so your heart chakra is also healing. And because of the color, I'm really drawn to throat, and I feel there's a slight suppression of my throat. So what this is telling me is that something is being born out of you that will require you to really speak out, whether it's speaking up your truth or being open, much more open about what you speak, or to the capacity of which you speak. There's that coming out. It's almost like part of you is coming out in the open, and some of you may feel slightly afraid. That's okay. Remember, when there is fear, it's generally because something new is happening and we're moving past our comfort zone. So this is a very good the omen. I love this card. Also, I feel like I'm in the middle of a flower, like I'm in the center of a flower. I don't quite know how to explain it. This card of understanding came up with another element. I don't remember which one, but there's another element that got this card, understanding. And obviously, this is time like no other in order to help us gain greater understanding, greater knowledge of who we are as species, greater understanding of ourselves and as individuals, greater understanding of ourselves as a collective, and collectively what the power we have to change, which ultimately comes down to the responsibility of each and every individual that has the power to change within. Understanding is the first step to freedom. I like that. Freedom is in the mind, very much so. Most of us are free. Most of us are not tied to a chair. Most of us are not in jail. I hope not. However, we don't feel free because we have all these restrictions, right? So freedom is a state of mind. I feel like I want to elaborate, but I'm being asked not to elaborate. For those of you who are meant to understand it, you will. Goes without saying that whatever it is that we are embarking on requires courage. And is that 50? Yes, it is. So for those of you who are into numbers, I've been seeing 555, I swear to God, for like 5, 6, 7 years. And it's been consistent. And yes, it's true, my life has changed very quickly over the last 4 to 5 years. And also, of course, the number 5 represents change. So we are being asked to have courage through this change, through these changing times. These changes are leading us to new beginnings. So, if you feel that you can't do this, or life is too hard, or you don't know where this is leading you, you're in good company. Many of us feel this way. But know that life always wants what's best for you. Life always will encourage you and push you a little bit more beyond your comfort zone, beyond your perceived limitations. I love, 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 love this card. Also, lion stands for strength. And notice there's, I can't help but notice a lot of orange and reddish. So this is, again, trust here is depicted very, very strongly. And letting go of disappointments, letting go of past emotional losses. I like seeing this card in reverse because it tells me we are no longer putting as much focus on attention on what was. And we're moving past it. What was. There is no point in harbor about it. No point in, focusing on it too much. It's, if it was and it isn't anymore, then we need to just move on. So many of us are moving from the idea of whatever we have lost. And I don't necessarily mean right now in the month of April and May. I'm talking things and disappointments from the past. This is healing disappointments. That's what I want to say. This is healing disappointments. I love, love, love this card because it tells, the moment I looked at this card, I'm going, oh, there is peace. And all those other people, it can represent different aspects of you. They're there, but they're not screaming, they're not yelling, they're kind of pacified. And what I'm feeling here is that the reason for that is because you're taking control. You're not letting these voices take control over you. You are taking control. And you're doing that by going deep within, and you're doing that by trusting yourself. And if you've spent most of your life questioning your abilities, to arrive at this space, that is a lot of hard work. Because the opposite image of this is an anxiety, stress, being pulled in 10,000 different directions. But you're not doing that. We're not doing that. Obviously, contemplation plays a big, big, big part. The reality is this. When we fundamentally, as a person, feel solid inside, which means no longer holding on to things that limit us, we will go through difficult situations, and for the most part, we'll come out okay. We will get bruised. We will get, we will deal with some things that are uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, we're going to come out of it, and we're going to be okay. If you can learn, I'm going to say it differently. If you can use this time and create a space in your everyday life for you and you only, which means you are taking responsibility for you, and devote this time to meditation, breathing exercises, anything that allows you to slow down your thoughts. This time, more than any other time in your life, in this life, whatever you implement right now and stay on top of it will become a very successful part of your everyday life. So, putting forth new structures in your life, taking on new hobbies, taking on new ways of taking care of your body. Basically, anything that you implement right now as a habit and pay attention to it for the next few months will become part of your reality, which means you will no longer have to chase it. It will be a part of you. And that is big. That is big. Okay? What is spiritual quest to you? 4, again 0, 4 and 0. 4 to me is beginnings, foundations. Your responsibility to you is basically your connection to your spirit self. if you are not connected to the aspect of you that is bigger than your body, that is more than your body, then you're living essentially half a life, because you're only living life from the perspective of a physical being, and you don't experience the benefits that come with having a spiritual connection, and there are plenty. Renewed faith is one of them. So if you know someone who is losing hope or losing faith, and this is the time when those things are tested. It's easy to have faith and hope when things are good. Easy. But when things are not so great, we really see what our foundation is. So please take this time to connect to your own spirit, whatever that means to you, in however you way works for you the best. Because what it does at the end of the day, your spiritual connection to your spirit self, higher self, your soul, whatever, however you want to call that, that is essentially what allows you to feel safe inside. When you are in tune with your spirit, you may have moments of doubt and you may have moments of fear, but you'll go back to that connection, and it's like, okay, you know what? You'll pull yourself out of it. You'll pull yourself out of it. That's all. I think that's all I have. Wow, that was longer than what I thought. Oh, I didn't even go through each individual signs. Do I even have to go through each individual signs? Well, he's saying, I promised. All right, so for the sign of Taurus, I have never done this live. Okay, for the sign of Taurus, what is important for the sign of Taurus to know? If you're Taurus, determination is your keyword. Stay determined on your path. And the card for you is the Hermit. So this is going within and contemplation. What did I just talk about? Perfect. It's also trusting your inner wisdom, knowing and trusting what you know. And it's not the knowing that comes from looking outside. It's the knowing that comes from within you, that deep inner knowing. So if you're a Taurus, contemplation, hugely important. But I would say contemplation is important to everybody. I'm going to put this back. And I'm going to ask for a card for a Virgo. What is Virgo? I just hear, hang in there. Hey, hang in there. You're closer than you think. So there's some of you who are Virgos. You at the brink of something new, but you might be feeling really tired and wondering, do I even want to bother? And the answer is keep going. Obviously, that will mean different things for different people, and you will have to tune in what that means to you, but you're closer than you think. So for some of you, this is going to be regarding work or physical, the earthly things. And I feel for many of you, you've lost jobs, or as a result of perhaps having been quarantined, you are creating something new. And that is of monetary value. Now, if you are Capricorn, interesting. So if you are Capricorn, to me, it's closing door to an opportunity, closing door to one set of circumstances. Why? Because the moment you close one door, a new door is open. So the message is virtually the same for every single sign. Except it's shown different. For some of you, this may mean you are leaving a marriage, you are leaving a situation that you're dependent on. You may be leaving your work, your career. Okay, he's asking me to clarify it. And if this is happening right for some of you, it may be happening right now. For some of you, this is the situation that will create that new opportunity that I was talking about at the very beginning. So you may not see it up until May or even June. Excuse me for a moment. But this will create a new opportunity. Look at this. There is a movement. You have some ideas that you are putting into action. And again, I feel this is going to be not necessarily in April. All right. Okay, guys, that's all I have for you. I hope you liked it. I actually really like this flow. If you would like to have a healing with me or a session for that matter, that information is down below. Thank you so much for watching this. Let me know if you like it. Of course, if you are an earth sign, some other signs may connect with you, so you may listen to whatever you are drawn to. If you are drawn to air, if you are drawn to fire, if you are drawn to water, listen, there might be a message in it for you. And before you listen for each element, just state your intention, and your intention may be as simple: okay, Spirit, please let me hear a message if there is one for me. And you'll know it because it'll resonate or it won't, and you won't even care if it's for a different sign. You'll just know it resonates with you. So that's really how I want to work. This is really how I want my work to be. I want you to hear the message and go based on whether it resonates with you or not is it my sign or isn't, because that's the head. I really want you to hear it with your body and with your heart, because ultimately your body will tell you. All right, I wish you best of luck, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.